Very much, I remember the first flight. I took off from Rhein-Main, went over Darmstadt, and then Fulda, right over where we're sitting now in Fulda, in the corridor. And as we entered the corridor over East Germany, we knew the fighter planes had been buzzing the transports. Soviet fighters, Yak-3 fighters, were occasionally buzzing the pilot. So we were looking very, very hard at everything in the corridor. And then when I came into Berlin, we didn't see any Soviet fighters the first trip. And when I landed in Berlin, I came over the city for the first time in Berlin. And I looked down at the city, and it looked like a moonscape. It just looked like everything ruined. You could look through the buildings, not at the buildings, but through the buildings. It was terrible. I couldn't believe the destruction. I could say, how could 2 million people live in these bombed out buildings? How can they live? How can they have a place to sleep, let alone anything to eat? And then when I landed, I had 20,000 pounds of flour, my first flight. And when I landed at Tempelhof, in the back door opened, and in came 6 Germans. And I'd seen some Germans just the day before in Rhein-Main, but it was the first time I came eye to eye with the enemy that had been the enemy. Some of them had a uniform on the top and other clothes, all mixed different clothes, Weimar, doctors, German military doctors now just in clothes to work. And I got out of the cockpit and came back when they came through the door to get the flour. And the first man came up to me and put his hand out to shake my hand. And his eyes were moist. He looked at the flour and looked back at me like I was an angel from heaven. And that look changed everything I felt. All the propaganda I'd heard was gone. The other thing that made the propaganda leave was that Stalin was starving women and children, taking the milk from the children and the women, more women than men. Those 2 things changed me. And when I met the man unloading the flour, I couldn't wait to get another load. It was so important. And the key to that is the gratitude, being thankful, dankbar. Man muss dankbar für alles. For Himmel, for etwas zu essen, all we have to be thankful. And then good things happen. And the Germans were so thankful. Shake your hand. Danke für our Freiheit. Danke für Freiheit. And the kinder would come on the airfield with adults, and they'd come up and say hello to the pilots while we're unloading. And the children would bring us little gifts. I have a gift from the marble from the Reichstag that a little boy and his father made for me. Bookends that hold the books. And they didn't know I wasn't the candy bomber by then. And they gave me these books. I still have them. But that's gratitude. And when people say thank you to you, you want to do more. And because of that, the other thing that made it work was service. Service before self. We're flying day and night. I lived in a barn with farm machinery down below. No water, nails in the wood to put my clothes on. And every hour, bad weather, but I never felt better in my life because it makes you feel good to serve somebody who's grateful. Those 2 simple things can change our lives today, everybody's life, the same as it did for me on the Berlin airlift. I'll never forget that lesson.